Today, I thought it was time to do a little experiment with a simple flashlight from the local only a pound shop. I'm going to convert this torch, which cost only £1, into a set of fairy lights. We call them fairy lights in the UK, but they have nothing to do with fairies. It's the way it is. As it's Friday, I have a little tipple beside me. Tonight I have a glass of pure malt whisky. But just to spice it up a little, I think, I'll add a few drops of bubblegum flavouring. Nice. I like that. And I have some sweetie snacks, or candy, as they call it in America. These sweeties are in the shape of chocolate resistors. I think we'll start with the 1.2K just for fun. That's brown, red, orange. It could have been the 2K, or even the 1.2 meg ohm. The value is not important, it's just that the 1.2K has a little more currents. Let's put those to one side. Of course, we are 240 volts mains over here in the UK, although thanks to being European compliant, it can vary. Let me get the notepad. Here's live, here's neutral. When I started working with electricity as a boy, we had 240 volts. Back then it may have varied by plus or minus 5%, but that was all. A few years ago, Europe tweaked the specs a little to suit themselves, so it's now 140 volts plus or minus 100 volts. So let's check, shall we, just for fun. As it's 3 in the morning, I'm not 100% sure what the voltage will be. My guess it might be a little high. 390 volts. That's more than I expected, but this is the Isle of Man. Incidentally, if you hear any noises in the background, it's probably the storm outside. We do get these quite regularly, as we're only a little island in the Irish Sea. It's what we're used to. By the way, when I was an apprentice, I worked on a nuclear fission site for a short time. I was contracted to put up the Christmas lights, but it turned out to be a bit of a disaster. We were working with gas lamps because that was all we had at the time. Still, that's a story for another day. Back to our project converting this only a pound torch into a set of fairy lights. Let's switch it on. You may see a little flicker because of the camera. It's not flickering at all for me. The light is steady as a rock. Pity they've used a cold white LED. I much prefer the warm white, or maybe a pink LED would look rather nice. But for £1 it's probably worth it for the components. This should come open with my favourite screwdriver. This is more difficult than I thought. I'll have to use a little brute force and it could end up being a little destructive. We do it so you don't have to. I'll pause momentarily while I get the Dremel and the vice of knowledge. Oh dear, I forgot to press record over the past 2 hours, but as you can see, this conversion is nearly finished. Just one final solder joint to do, but I'm not impressed with this new solder. It's a new batch I ordered from China, but seems very moist and squidgy. I think it must be eco-friendly lead-free. I think a little has been lost in translation. Cook solder to a maximum 275 degrees, having broken off in a line a series of notches. There may be grains of white powder on the outdoors of the soldier. Rub to excess. This soldier is lead and soldier-free. Well, that explains it. But being a Scot, now I've bought it, I have to use it rather than waste it. I don't want to zoom out too much because the workshop is an absolute tip. So, just this final connection. Oops, but that was exciting. Not my best ever joint, but it'll do. So there we are. A very nice set of fairy lights, all from a simple flashlight. In the next video, I'll show you how to convert a set of only a pound fairy lights into a flashlight.